Hey, I'm Amanda Cotton, and I'm here to show you how to do a Taylor and a Frannie Baby mashup from Children's Corner. A long time ago, when my son was little, we got this Hannah Kate bubble, and it was so sweet and precious, and we loved it and we wore it out. I had every intention of buying dozens more when my daughter was born. However, she is super tall, like really tall. She's in the 99th percentile and for height and like 0th percentile for weight. It's ridiculous. So none of the off-the-shelf things would really fit her. And one of the beauties of sewing is that you can get a look and the fit that you want when you're sewing for yourself. And so I set out to find a pattern to make this work. And what I found is that no pattern exists, which is a real bummer for me because I really love this bubble. We wore it all the time with my son and it's just so easy to throw on and off, but never fear, I have figured it out and I'm here to tell you how to do it yourself. Basically, you'll need a couple things. You will need a Frannie Baby from Children's Corner and a Taylor from Children's Corner. And we're going to take these two patterns and mash them up to make the beautiful bubble that I love. And you can also take this and do all kinds of modifications and alterations. This is a perfect time to add a monogram. You can add flutter sleeves, you can add a collar. It's absolutely perfect how many different options you can go with this. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and we are going to all make ourselves lovely little bubbles for our children. Have our Frannie Baby dress front, and we are going to trace around from the front center all the way to the arm casing. Then we're going to be sure to get any kind of important things like the arm casing elastic. We need to make sure to trace that. The next step is we are going to mash this up with the Taylor romper front. So basically we are going to line up the top point of your neckline center with the top neckline center, and we are going to make sure that the center front line lines up perfectly with the center front line that we just traced from our Frannie Baby. Okay, it is probably a little difficult to see from the camera, but we have our front center lined up, and then the straight edge of the front center is lined up perfectly. Now, it's not going to line up along the shoulder. That's actually the mashing part that we're taking from it. So what we're going to do for this step is we're going to extend the center front line down all the way to the stride, and then we are going to trace around until we get to this back leg casing. And we are basically going to create a straight edge from this bottom portion of the leg all the way up to the edge of the Frannie portion of the arm, and that is how we're going to get the pattern mash. Don't forget to set your leg casing in because that's important. Our romper front, and we'll move on to the romper back. Okay, we have the same general concept here. We are going to trace from the front center line all the way around this arm casing. Don't forget to mark your faux placket line. Okay, the back of the Taylor romper is significantly different than the back of the Frannie Baby, and so this is a little trickier to line up. What we're going to do, again, we're going to make sure that the center back is lined up with the center back from the Frannie Baby, but in this instance, we want to make sure that the diagonal the side seams are the exact same length. So in order to do this, we're going to have to lower start point of the center back down to where it lines up with the center back from the Frannie Baby. so you're actually lining up the center back line and the bottom of the shoulder seam. And basically what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that the diagonal that we have from our center front is going to match the side seam of our center back. Okay, before we cut, like I said, we want to make sure our side seam dimensions are roughly the same, because that would be really frustrating if they weren't. So we're going to take a quick measurement just to make sure that we are speaking apples to apples here, since we have modified the pattern. And I can see here, that my side seam is just under 9 inches on the romper front, and so we want to make sure that we are just under 9 inches on the romper back, and it is perfect. So we're going to cut these out and we'll see you back here. Okay, the first step in the construction is to follow the instructions as you would the Frannie Baby. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to match up right sides together, our romper front and our romper back. We're gonna pin it. We're gonna do that with both the lining and the main pieces. We're gonna take that to the machine. We have our romper shoulder seams sewn together. We're going to take this to the iron and we're going to iron our shoulder seams on both the romper front and the lining pieces open, just like this. And we'll meet back here. Now we are going to put our front and our lining right sides together, so that we can open up our faux placket. We match up our shoulder seams. Well, I'm going to pin it on both sides so that we make sure that we are right place. And then we're going to cut our faux placket together. You could cut them separately if you wanted. I'm going to cut them together so that I can be sure that each cut is the same length and that they will line up properly. You see I have the placket line right there, so we're all straight, we're lined up. I'm going to cut down to our placket line through both layers, down center back. The next step, now that we have our placket, is we are going to pin the neckline, and then we're going to take that to the machine. One thing I am going to do is, you can see in a finish bubble, there is a crocheted button loop that you can do after you sew the neckline together. I'm going to do this to make it a little bit easier on myself so that I don't have to crochet that little button loop. I have this very small piece of 1/8 inch elastic, and I'm going to sew that in between the lining and the main piece so that later on it'll be my button loop. So I'm going to pin that down right here, making sure that I put it below 1/4 inch because that's the seam allowance for this pattern. I'm going to be very careful when I go around that because I have a needle there, but as soon as I pull it out, it's going to want to pull out also. Got our neckline sewn together. Now we're going to very carefully clip all of the curves. We have clipped our curves. Now we're going to turn this right side out and we're going to give that a neckline a very good press. Okay, we have a nice pretty neckline, and now we need to finish our sleeve area. And we're going to do that with what they call the taco method. Basically, we're going to wrap the dress up into itself so that we can get both these sleeve pieces right sides together. So I'm going to take this side of the dress and we're going to open it up. We're going to taco the other side of the dress into it so that we can make the one side lining and main pieces right sides together. And we're going to pin that in place. We're going to do that one more time. This was a confusing step for me at first. So here's one shoulder seam, and we're going to take one shoulder seam, both your pieces, we're going to open it up, and we are going to take the other shoulder piece into it and wrap it around. So you've got right sides together. We're going to pin that in place. So basically, one side of the dress is tacoed in the other side of the dress, and we're going to sew and make sure you're sewing the right one. We're going to sew the main to the lining, right sides together, all around this sleeve. Now we're going to take this to the machine. going to clip the curves. We're going to pull the romper out of itself through the sleeve tunnel that we've created. So we're going to open up one side, and we are going to just gently pull it through. It gets tight. I imagine it'll get tighter the bigger you make it, but it works really well. And then when you pull it out, you have this beautiful finished armhole. So we're going to iron that, and we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Again, we're going to gently pull the romper out of itself through the sleeve tunnels that we made. And we're going to take that and iron both sides. Okay, now we have finished our sleeves, finished our neckline. What's left is to do the side seams. So same concept, I'm going to basically want to get right sides together. So got two right sides, and I'm going to match them up. All the way down. And be sure to match up the important parts. So I definitely want to get seam to seam, end to end. We're going to do that for both sides and then sew it down. Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Okay, we've ironed the seams open on both sides, and we're going to pull the romper out. We're almost there. Okay, now we're going to sew in the elastic casings for the sleeves while we have access to insert the elastic. Now we're going to insert the arm elastic. This is a 1/4 inch elastic as called for by the pattern. We're going to take it through the legs and then insert it into this casing that we just created. Repeat that to the other side. Okay, we have finished up the arm casing, and now we're going to go and finish the romper legs. We're going to do that very similarly to how we did the sleeve finishes. We're going to basically get right sides together, by wrapping one romper leg around the other. So we're gonna right sides together. We're gonna pin that. Now we're going to clip the curves. Same way as we did the sleeves, we're going to pull that carefully out of the center. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, we have clipped the curves of our leg casing, and we're going to very carefully pull the romper out of the center of itself. This is a little bit trickier because the opening got a little bit smaller since we partially sewed up each stride. So we're just going to be very gentle. Ease it out. Okay, we've given our romper legs a good press, and so now we have this beautiful clean curve. Now we're going to sew in our leg casings. The only thing that you need from the Taylor pattern is the length of the leg elastic. Everything else is pretty much, you're going by the Frannie Baby instructions, and then the bottom is kind of, we've gone a little rogue. But you do need the elastic length for the leg casings. Okay, so we are going to use the opening that we left in our stride area to reach the elastic casings we just made in our leg holes. The way this works is the back is going to fold up under the front. So the back, I'm going to actually just top stitch down because you will not see it on the outside. The front, I'm going to finish by pulling it out through this opening in the back and just basically sewing it in place so that it is hidden. Nobody should be looking that closely anyway, so if you just want to top stitch both of them in place, you can totally do that. Okay, we're basically finished. All that's left is I'm going to install a button for my elastic to close around, and then you may install snaps or buttons and buttonholes of your choice down at the stride. There you have it, the Taylor Frannie Baby Mash from Children's Corner. If you like this video, please subscribe and let me know in the comments any dresses or rompers that you'd like to see in the future. Thanks!